Hey y'all, welcome to the Athlete's Health Deep Dive, the weekly episode where we get a mental performance theme of the week, dive deep into its insights through some tips, tricks to remember it, tools to apply it, and the goal here is to just bring more value to our audience, all right? Athletes, coaches, parents, anyone, giving you a glimpse into some themes and topics surrounding mental performance in these longer kind of conversations and what conversation points in our coaching can also entail. But ultimately, we plan to help you out, get you using these tricks, adding these tools to your tool belt, your bag, and up your mental performance. At the end, maybe you are more intrigued to check out some more of our coaching services. But each week we do have a theme, and this week's theme is the noise around us. We gotta block it out and use it to our advantage. So without further ado, let's get right into this and paint this story for you. Picture that we are on the field, the court, the track. All right, whatever the case is, there's going to be noise around us. The crowd can be roaring, the teammates are shouting, the coach is yelling instructions, right? It goes on, right? Unless, I guess I can think of a silent stadium too, with the tension, you can cut it with a knife. But within all this noise that is happening, and even in that silent tension, your inner voice starts to chime in, right? It's saying stuff, and sometimes it is not helpful. The noise can be a very strong, relentless force. It can be like the oceans. I just heard someone say, even if you can bench 1,000 pounds, if you can squat 1,000 pounds, you're not holding the ocean back. And that is what this noise can be like. It can be like those ocean waves crashing against a rocky shore, back and forth, knocking you down. You can stand back up, knocking you down. But what if instead of having this noise, the ocean drown us, we learn to surf and ride those waves? Now, instead of avoiding the noise or trying to run away from it, we could embrace it. We could use it to sharpen our focus and elevate our performance. And that is ultimately the goal of today's deep dive. Tip number one is recognize the noise. Because this noise can come in many, many forms, like I just said, right? Those crowds can be chanting things for us or against us. That kind of negative self-talk that we're saying in our head. It can be even our favorite song before a game. This is all noise around us in reaction to our performance. And that's why I ultimately like the topic about the noise so much. We can recognize its presence as the first step to handling the noise effectively. If we know it's there, that is the first step to us actually working with it. That's why I have the trick of the name the wave. And what I want us to do is we can just write down 2 or 3 sources of noise that we know of, hear of, see. It can be outside noise, things that we're taking in, like in a game, the crowd chanting, the student section yelling at us, whatever the case is. Or it can be that inside noise, that internal noise, what we're saying to ourselves when we step up to the line, as we're doing it pre-game, whatever the case is. And these are going to be the ones that we hopefully probably notice the most often because they're going to be the ones that first come to us. And then secondly, we can reflect on how these noises that we came up with, the first ones that came to our head, impact our focus and ultimately our performance within this as well. And so the thing I want, and this is actually still a sport, but think of a surfer. Okay, so we're going to talk about surfing here. And before they go out and surf, they're studying the wave patterns. They're studying the waves, seeing, and if you've been to the ocean, you can see, well, that part has the bigger waves. Oh, now this part does. And I'll be fully honest, a surfer is going to know way more about that stuff than I do. But the point is, they're studying the waves before they enter the ocean, so they know where the peak spot is to start paddling, where they can get on the board and actually start riding the wave and really kind of see the rhythm of the wave so that they can master it. And that's ultimately what we want to do with this tip number one. Recognize the noise, use the trick, name the wave. First two or three that come in your head are probably the noise that you think about the most, that we're thinking about. And we can reflect on that one, see how it affects our focus and our performance, and then we'll move on here. So those are kind of the tools. We just notice them and we reflect on it, because we're going to come back to this wave. All right. Before we do that, we got to move on to tip number two. And tip number two is build a noise team. Everyone's heard that woodchuck metaphor, so I'm not even going to say it because I cannot talk that well. But like a woodchuck scurrying away when like it's outnumbered, or any smaller animal that likes to kind of hold its own, right? I just think of the meme of the woodchuck just screaming, right? But it's trying to hold its own, but then eventually it's just going to run away. Noise loses its power when we have the right people around us. This can be friends, teammates, coaches, any of these people. If we put it in and we put in perspective and we work on this, they can really help us drown out the distractions, the noise, and reinforce kind of our productive, positive energy and get going to what we're trying to do. So that woodchuck, that meme, it's just screaming. It's trying to defend itself, right? But then when we get a few people around it, it's just going to run off. That's why this trick for this tip number two is squad up. What we do, once again, we got 2 to 3, okay? Common theme here, but we're going to find 2 to 3 people this time who we kind of rely back on, who can kind of keep us grounded, who can keep us focused in, who we talk to about these things to really lock ourselves in and do what we're trying to get done. And the second thing within we can do this, second tool is create a quick routine, a mantra, something that we can use before our big games or performances. Now, maybe that goes back to the noise of the certain song that we like to listen to before game. Maybe it is that actual physical routine that we're going to be doing of sitting in the same space. Maybe it is saying something to someone, or they say something to us, or we dab each other up. Whatever the case is, we can go on and on and on, but it's specific for your circumstance. But what I do want to kind of think about is we often don't even think about this one too much, but it's done almost every time where athletes huddle up together before a game. They build that unity. They create that collective focus as the team. And it really kind of mutes all the outside noise. They get locked in. But sometimes, you're just going through the motion and you don't even think about it like that. But that's ultimately what we're doing here. And we can think about it as the whole team. If we're doing this tip number two, build a noise team, or it can be just those 2 to 3 people, right? When we are using the trick squad up to really kind of keep us locked in. If we don't feel like we have that full connection with the whole team, we can find that 2 or 3 people that really keep us locked in. And maybe that's who we do the quick mantra with. Hey, thanks again for tuning into the Athletes Health Podcast. Your support really does mean a lot. We are passionate about bringing the mental health and performance topics to the forefront because, let's be real, the mental health crisis is a huge issue in society. Now, if you're enjoying the show, it would mean the world to us if you could just give it a 5-star review and share it with anyone who might benefit this message. Every bit helps in spreading the word and creating a stronger, healthier community. This podcast is just a small part of what we are doing at the Athletes Health. We work directly with teams, coaches, and individual athletes even to help them unlock their full mental performance and ultimately overall performance. Now, whether that's getting the competitive edge, breaking through mental blocks, or just leveling up in the mental gym, we're trying to cover it all with people. So thank you for listening and supporting our mission. Now let's get right back to the show. Tip number 3, embrace the noise. Sometimes the best way to handle the noise is to really lean into it. And I've been talking more about this lean into it type of thing lately, because sometimes we really want to run away from it, but just give it that little lean, embrace the chaos, flow with it. This can sometimes really help us focus in these unexpected places. Maybe when people don't expect us to be locked in, or when other people, or when ourselves don't expect to be locked in. we kind of just embrace it. And what we do here, another way to think about it, is we're just riding that wave. How at the very beginning, we were talking about the waves knock us down. Oh man, we get knocked down, get back up. But then even if we can squat 1,000 pounds, the wave, the ocean, it is no match. It's going to knock us back down unless we ride the wave. And we can do this by just staying kind of present. Okay. We can don't think about the past mistakes, past games, whatever the case. That's how we can start to lose and not play our best. But we focus on, if we want to really work on that present thing, because that's one way to do it, just forget about the past, but then automatically we're starting to think about it. We can think about just one sensory detail for right now. If it is the feel of the ball, maybe it's the listening for the pass or the wind whooshing by us. Okay, one of these sensory topics to really keep us just honed in on it, and then we can get back to that muscle memory. That is kind of our cue to really anchor ourselves in the moment and what we're doing. It's that trigger, so then we can just get that muscle memory flowing and act to what we know we can do. And one thing I really love to hear about is certain athletes, or like MJ, when I would listen back to some of the things Michael Jordan would say, is they feed off the energy of the crowd. They would say that these people are coming to watch me play here tonight. I'm going to put on the show. And it's vice versa, where they're given the energy, the athletes really are feeding off of it. That roar, that is the fuel that keeps driving them instead of distracting them, right? Even if it is in a opposing stadium or something, and they're hating on it, that's the hating noise, distracting noise, that could even still be used as fuel. These people are hating on me. That's what we're working on when we're gonna start rocking, rolling with it. So I just want you to think about this one as I'm kind of busting through this deep dive today of round noise, but we could just go on and on about this. So I'm trying to stay a little more surface level, and anyone can hit me up for any questions about this. But tip number 3, as we're talking more about the waves, embrace the noise. Ride the wave as the trick. Stay present. Don't just be like, I don't want to do this, or I did this last time, let's forget about that. If we're going to start thinking about it, let's just focus on that one sensory detail, whatever that is for us, and then use the noise as a cue. Okay, just start to, that noise is going to be there. Just start to use it. You hear the noise, sensory detail. Hear the noise, sensory detail. And just think like all the greats, how they love the energy in the stadium. Tip number 4 is find the silence within. Come from Iowa State, Cyclones. So we're going to be talking about the eye of the storm here. And I know we usually hear that in a hurricane sense, but nonetheless, this is a metaphor that really reminds us that in all the chaos, we have a safe space of calm. Okay, we can find that. If we can get through, if we can cycle through all the chaos, all the distraction, all that outside noise, silence is not the absence of the noise, but it is the presence of focus, of locking in, of that confidence, of staying composed, of knowing that clear goal that we're working towards. That's why this trick is to create your calm, because it's going to be different for everyone. If you got to think about arts and crafts or something like that, this is your arts and crafts tools. Maybe it's going to be a short breathing routine, okay? It's something to center ourselves before that high pressure moment. Maybe it's one of our simple just tricks that people can get to for their confidence or for their composure that we have in our program. But one of them is a breathing cycle. And so that's why I use that as an example for this as a tool. Is so many different breathing cycles out there. Find the one that works for you. Maybe it's inhale 4 seconds, hold 4 seconds, exhale 4 seconds, repeat. Maybe it just needs to be short and sweet. Maybe it's just one big breath in, one big breath out. Another thing we can do is actually, related to this tip and trick, is visualize the calm eye in the middle of the storm to remind yourself of this, of what you're actually trying to hit on. If you need to find that calm, just know it's kind of noise all around it. That's the outside of the hurricane, of the cyclone. And find that calm, find that composure to handle all that pressure around, in the center of the storm. And I'm just going to use a basketball example, but because high pressure free throw or like a PK in soccer, think about this in a noisy arena. In soccer, fans are even crazier than basketball, right? But you're up to shoot or you're in the goal, you find that calm, you find it in the mechanics for the free throw of the same routine that you're going through. You're just shutting out all the noise, all the distractions so you can stroke your shot and hit the free throw. We find this in every sport, and you foul anything where it's isolated one-on-one in any one-on-one sport. Solo, find the mechanic, find the routine, find that calm of the storm. And it's not just calm of like we're relaxing, it's that calm of intensity, right? There's all that pressure storm around us. So that is what we're working on with tip number 4. Find the silence within. Trick, create your calm. Tools, short breathing routines, what we use for reference here, or visualizing the actual storm with the eye of it. Lastly here, tip number 5, use the noise to build momentum, all right? And like a favorite song, noise can be the tool to kind of motivate us to shift our state. And the key is to find the sounds or the noise that really energize us, that focus us. Trick here is a soundtrack to success. Literally create a playlist that matches the mindset you want to bring before competition. I saw this recently. It reminded me again. Kobe Bryant said he would listen to the Halloween theme song before many games because it represents the mask, no emotion. He just goes out there and plays. He goes out there and kills. And it was put shivers down my spine to think about that. Other times you might want hype music. Maybe you need country music to kind of bring you back to home. Maybe it's classical to just get in the Zen state. The list can go on and on, but that's the playlist for whatever kind of mindset you want to create. And another thing is you can use specific sounds or just a quick phrase or trigger, like we've kind of said, that can just quickly get you in the zone. Maybe we start to pair the buzzer with the zone, or we use it at practice or at home when we're practicing ourselves. Something to get us really kind of locked in and ready for that zone. And athletes often have a pregame routine with their music. The more I talk to them, the more I hear they do this or that, or the team has this or that. And sometimes it hypes them up. Others use it to calm them down. Sometimes they don't like music at all. Okay, it depends on the individual and the need, but that's ultimately why I'm presenting this with the tip number 5, use noise to build momentum. Literal vibrations, which I did not really even touch on in this episode, but we'll save it for another time to put us in the state that we want to be in. Trick, soundtrack to success, create that playlist, pair sounds, phrases, make them triggers, set ourselves up for success, just like any athlete, anyone you probably talk to or idol has their own thing. Google it fast. Let me know if you find something. All in all, I do like to recap the 5 tips, tricks, tools though. So today we covered 5 of them around mastering the noise around and within us. With tip number 1, recognize the noise. Name the wave. Identify the sources of noise to help us understand and manage its impact. Number 2, build a noise team. Squad up. Surround yourself with the right people and muffle the distractions and amplify the focus. Number 3, embrace the noise. Ride the wave, lean into the chaos, really help find the focus and flow within this. Number 4, find the silence within. Create your calm, just like the eye of the hurricane. Develop tools like breathing or visualizing to allow us to maintain that calm, that intensity, that composure under the pressure. And lastly, tip number 5, use noise to build the momentum. Soundtrack to success. Harnessing that noise like music or positive, productive triggers, things that we associate to make ourselves better, play better, compose, whatever goal we're reaching for, obviously, to really help elevate our performance. Now, lastly here, as we move forward, or you move forward, start thinking about the noise within your life. What is kind of serving you, helping out, and what's getting in the way, what's distracting, and how can we really block out the distractions and use the rest to fuel ourselves and fuel the journey that we're on. Catch you next week for another episode of The Athlete's Health Deep Dive.